Um, the last 24 hours have been interesting. I'm sure many of you have seen the prayer requests going around about the needs that some of our folks have, and the needs of a dear friend of mine and of many of yours, and that's Big John, who is in hospital with COVID. And there have been many such incidents in the last few hours, the last few days, and it's just sort of pushing in on me. And then I thought, you know what, if you're feeling that, I'm sure that others are too. So today I thought I would just talk to myself, and you get to listen in. There's no doubt that we're in massive change times in our world, and just about everything that can be shaken is being shaken, whether you in any area you look. And this is not a peaceful time. This is a time where if we let ourselves, the devil will just get us tumbling so that we don't know which way up is, and we are just in that feeling of turbulence. But I thought to myself, and my wife has been trying to speak peace into my mind, into my life. But I read today Psalm 34 verse 4. I sought the Lord, and he answered me. Well, he always does. Sometimes the answer isn't what we want. Sometimes it's not as clear as we want, but he always answers. But in Psalm 34 it said, and he delivered me from all of my fears. So I don't know who I'm talking to today. Maybe I'm just talking to myself. I said you get to listen in while I'm talking. But maybe there's somebody else out there that right now you just feel like, oh man, you got stuff coming from this way, from that way. And so while I'm talking today, I want you to just think about your fears, and then I want you to do what I'm going to talk about. It says, I sought the Lord and he answered me. Well, I am seeking him, and I'm saying, Lord, these are your issues. These are your problems. And sometimes, we get the feeling that the Lord is off doing X, Y, and Z, and he doesn't hear us. Or if he does, he doesn't respond. There's no sort of bulb goes on to say, yeah, that prayer's been received and acknowledged. I talked to somebody this morning who had made a contribution to an organization, and he didn't get any confirmation that it was received. Well, that leaves you with a question, right? Did they get it? Didn't they get it? Did he hear it? Didn't he hear it? Guess what? The Lord always hears. There was a little boy fishing one day years ago, and he saw one of those beautiful big paddle steamboats heading down the river, and he immediately stood up and began waving and shouting, over here, I want to ride. Well, just next to him on the fishing bank there was an old guy, and he tried to calm down the boy by saying, look, that's a big boat, it's much too important, and he can't be stopping to give rides to little boys. So you can imagine the old man's surprise when the huge ship slowed down, began crossing over to the riverside where the two boys were fishing. And when the boat edged alongside the riverbank, it dropped its gangplank, and the little boy climbed on board. And when he reached the pilot house on the ship, the little boy called down to the elderly gentleman and said, Mister, I knew this ship would stop for me. The captain is my father. So all of a sudden, it becomes clear. The little boy knew his location, and he knew the relationship he had with the captain. And that's the same for us. Sometimes we feel our deal and our problems are just, they're not, the Lord isn't hearing. Well, guess what? I've talked about it, but sometimes in his wisdom, God will allow us to go through storms. Are we pleased about it? No, not always at the time. But I want you to remind yourself that that is something that the Lord does. And, I've been talking a lot recently about doubt. I don't know why. It's just come up in the scriptures we're talking about. But here's the deal with doubt. If you're experiencing doubt today, is the Lord hearing? Is the Lord answering? Is he doing what I need him to do? Sometimes it's in the storms that our issues are resolved. I've given you examples of that. But sometimes he just allows us to stay in the storm. And yeah, it's uncomfortable, but he knows what he's doing. James chapter 1, verse 2. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into divers temptations. Or other translations say divers trials. But it says, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. How many of you need patience? Well, no matter how many hands you put up, I'll put up more hands because I know I need patience. But it says in verse 4, but let patience have her perfect work, that you might be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. So today, that's my exhortation to you. Just recognize that he did hear, he is hearing, and sometimes he delivers us out of the storm, and sometimes he leaves us there, because in so doing, it works patience. You say, well, I wish he'd find some other way of doing it. Well, I might say amen to that too, but the Lord knows what he's doing, and sometimes as we're in it, it seems that there's no possible way this can be real. But after the fact, we're going to look back and we're going to see there was a victory that I wouldn't have accomplished and I wouldn't have been able to experience had not God left me in that trial. A small boy came home from Sunday school and his father asked him what he'd learned that day. And he replied that the teacher taught us about the children of Israel escaping from Egypt. He said, and they all got out, and when they came to the Red Sea, they pumped up their inflatable boats and paddled across so they could get away from Pharaoh's soldiers. Wait a minute, said Dad, is that the way it really happened? And the little boy replied, look, if I told you the way she said he did it, you'd never believe it. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to believe, but it's true that through our trials, through our difficulties, come victories. They make us more secure in him. They make us more secure or more mature. And so today, that's my little word to myself, and you get to listen in. Today, most days I come to the end of this and I say, I want you to think of somebody, I want you to reach out, I want you to touch somebody, give them a word of encouragement. Today I want you to do something different. Today I want you to ask the Lord to show you who to pray for. There's so many needs, so many people going through trials, so many people who just haven't understood, or maybe they've understood that the Lord has a purpose in this, but it's always uncomfortable. And so that's my prayer today. Even as I've been speaking to myself, I'm asking God to show me who out there I should be specifically praying for. So I'll be back tomorrow being Friday. I love you all. Now, some of you have had a bit of trouble because YouTube has changed the way that they work. So some of you may be watching this on Facebook. I'm going to try and get the YouTube thing fixed in the next day or so. Mark's been working with me, but I hope I'm glad that you're watching today because, and clearly you are. But hopefully tomorrow we'll be back to normal. Sure love you all, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow. God bless.